New show.
Hi everybody, my name is Marty, and this past week I was so glad to be a member of Joiners Anonymous because 3 health clubs and 2 Book of the Week clubs and the Save the Cement Foundation wanted me to join. But with your support, I was able to turn them all down flat. Oh, wait, I have a confession to make. I am a member of the MTV Record Club. Well, look, it's the best way to get the newest CDs, tapes, and LPs. You see, every time you buy one, you get another one free.
Other words, you join a club.
It's incredible. You get to choose from hundreds of albums.
Yeah, I've joined plenty of record clubs. Look where it got me.
Look, how could I resist? Every time I looked at the TV set, there was that number, 1-800. Look, there it is again.
I see it. Stop, all of you! You're acting like a bunch of joiners!
Oh, wait, look, it's not just a record club, it's the MTV Record Club. You get all the newest music, and you get MTV To Go monthly magazine. Monica. It's filled with all kinds of great stuff that's on MTV. Stuff from Headbangers Ball, Addicted to Style, and Street Sounds. It's also got news and an MTV monthly program guide.
You join a club.
Not only that, but I love the VJ pick that's featured in the magazine every month. I get it sent to me automatically. Of course, if I don't ever want it, all I do is send back the card saying, not this month. If they don't give me 10 days to decide, I send the VJ pick back at the club's expense. You see, I'm not obligated to buy anything, ever.
What you mean, more or less, is you join a club.
Look, here's the best part. I get 12 issues of the exclusive MTV To Go magazine and the club's buy one, get one free offer, plus discounts on videos, MTV shirts, watches, and lots of other stuff, all for just $14.95 a year. And I told the operator that I saw the offer on MTV, and I got $5 off the membership price. That's only $9.95 a year. For a full year, I saved that much on my first purchase alone.
Call this number now, and remember, if you say you saw this offer on MTV, you'll save $5. You'll be billed a discounted one-year membership fee of $9.95.
The MTV Record Club. It's the only club you'll ever need to join.
Oh my God, what have you got me into on this?
What is this? I hadn't seen that in years, man. Holy cow.
Jesus.
Wow. That was unusual.
They haven't gotten any better over time.
Right. Wow. Well, that was a commercial for the magazine and the record club, which was one and the same. We actually called it a magalog at one point. I don't really know, but I'll just tell you how
we new portmanteau.
Yeah, I don't. It's kind of a strange story because the magazine was a freestanding magazine, although it had no newsstand. It was subscription only. And like I said to you the other day, I was sitting in my office at National Lampoon, and the phone rang, and it was a guy who said his name was Bob Friedman, and he said he wanted me to start a magazine for MTV, and the budget was unlimited. And they said, we don't know anything about magazines, but they told me that you do. So how about coming over here and giving us a mag? And he didn't finish the word magazine. I just hung up. I just thought it was my friends. I thought it was my friends with a prank call. And he called back, and I said, stop calling me. And it was this guy, Bob Friedman, who was vice president of MTV. And he said, we'll give you an unlimited budget. We have no idea what we're doing. And we need a magazine. We're doing a deal with Bertelsmann Music Group, BMG, from Germany. And they've got all the albums, and we have the logo. And they made a deal together, and I soon learned how nefarious MTV was. So I didn't go to work for them. I formed my own company for the magazine and hired all my freelance friends, and I became like the Moses of New York. They all got health insurance. They all got salaries. And we started to create this magazine, and National Lampoon sued me for breach of contract, claiming that anything that came across their office was theirs.
Oh, wait, so
yeah,
a phone call to you offering you a job
as an employee, right? There was some legal precedent as an employee of National Lampoon that I was obligated to turn that business information over to them. I could care less, you know. And
Yeah, I don't think
MTV,
that's quite right. If you were making the first issue while you were at work at National Lampoon, then they could claim that as work product because you were working there. But a phone call offering a job? Oh, screw
well,
that.
anyway, this is what they sued on. You know what I mean? And fortunately for me, MTV had a much bigger foot and bigger lawyers because it was Viacom, Eric, and that was quickly dismissed. But I kind of remember that being a problem for Maddie. But anyway, so, you know, I hired all my friends and we, you know, began the idea of how to create this magazine. And we kind of like were at war. We were like the bastard stepchild of these two international conglomerates that didn't like each other. BMG did not like MTV. MTV did not like BMG, and I'll tell you why. The budget for the magazine was enormous, all paid for by BMG, who wanted to split it with MTV. And MTV said, no, we're giving you our logo. That's worth $5 million a year. And BMG thought otherwise. So that was the financial balance of power, and it was tenuous at best. So we began to create this magazine, and nobody had ever done what we were attempting to do. We were attempting and succeeded in creating the first fully designed desktop publication in America. No one had ever done that. You had to make VLOXs, you had to set type, you had to send it out to the printer. Even at National Lampoon, where I just come from, we purchased like $500,000 worth of Macintosh computers in 1989. Big ones, little ones, office ones, everything, Mac 2s. And they gave us the money for this. Like, we created a budget. This was our plan. We had a company. I had a business partner. And I was kind of on the creative side. I was publisher of the magazine. I hired Billy Altman, who was a friend who was a very famous editor of Cream magazine, the rock and roll magazine. There's Billy. Chris Howland I brought with me from Lampoon. Cleveland Stores I brought with me from Lampoon. Ronnie was an old friend. He was the art director, computer consultant. Yeah, Bill Crowley. Yeah, that's interesting. John Bendel was a true facts editor at Lampoon. So yeah, a lot of these people came over with me. Billy.
No wonder they sued you. They had to be.
No, yeah, they weren't happy about that. But these were, these are people who wanted salaries and a better life.
Sure.
So I started doing this, and we created the publication on the desktop, and we had a day where.
So you were using Photoshop, and I forget the tools at the time.
Right. This guy, Ronnie Finkelstein, changed his name to Fennell. He was the cutting edge guy at the time. He knew everything. I didn't know anything. I mean, he knew how to make a magazine on a desktop. No one had ever attempted this before. I'm talking about a full magazine, nationally distributed. We had 250,000 circulation, full page ads from Pepsi, Paramount Pictures, everything, and the structure of the magazine, if you could show like the table of contents of one or two of the issues, maybe people get the idea. You'll see what we were doing. We were trying to copy. Here's the TOC. A lot of the features were based on the shows on MTV. So we had, like what's his name doing the news? Kurt Loder. Kurt Loder would do the news. We had the Big Picture with Chris Connolly. We had Yo MTV Raps written by Ted Demme. There's a certain thing up there. You'll see Club MTV is a section. I did a thing called Funny Farm. There was remote control. They copied what we did was we copied and worked with them with MTV to do the print version of their shows. And Headbangers Ball, you'll see on the bottom left corner. And then also Aircheck was like a TV guide for MTV in the middle. And then there was a negative option coupon that you sent back, and you ordered on the right-hand side of the page were all these records and tapes from Bertelsmann Music, like the RCA Record and Tape Club. And on the right-hand side was the stuff you could order. So it was part catalog and part magazine, but the articles and everything was real. I mean, that Lou Reed article, I think, was written by Billy Altman. I mean, all the journalism was real.
might have been Lou Reed. Sorry, Kurt Loder.
I think Kurt Loder might have written that one.
Yeah, and sorry, let me pull that up.
Yeah, there's one. This is an early mock-up. I mean, this is like one of the early issues. One of the first issues we did. I don't know if you have a couple of covers there to give you an idea of what this looked like. The first issue, we had a smaller format, and then we expanded the size. Yeah, that was the first issue.
Okay.
That was number one. And what we decided to do was to not put rock stars on the cover. We didn't want, this was a decision we made. We were going to use avant-garde downtown New York City artists for each cover to paint an original cover for the magazine, as opposed to being held hostage by publicists. Yeah, this is a PC Vey cover, the legendary PC Vey. We used them at Lampoon. So just on that one, for instance, yeah, you'll see a couple more. That's another PC Vey. If you could show that art. See, what we did was, yeah, I mean, these are just absolutely gallery level, exhibition level artists who were in Soho in New York. This was a Woodstock cover. This is a special issue, 1989 Woodstock 2. So that was like the photo from the stage of the first Woodstock. Yeah, this was one of my favorites. I mean, some of this stuff, I would love to do a gallery show someday of all the issues, just frame them and bring the artists out to LA to do a gallery show. This is really one of my favorites. I mean, this is like some Escher. You could look at this, and it has like 3 dimensions to it. Just absolutely
crazy
brilliant.
Perspective.
Crazy. I mean, these were masterpieces. These covers. Yeah, that was another nice one. Wow, I forgot about that one.
Well, I got a bunch, so I'll just
that was
going.
a special spring break issue that we that was
for sure
1990. Yeah, spring break.
And this one just didn't come out well in the.
Yeah, that was an Earth Day special Earth Day one. Save the Earth. Yeah, I didn't like that at all. This was again a downtown artist in Manhattan. They each had a little write-up inside. This was a summer special for MTV.
Yeah, I think the corporate won on that one for you.
Yeah, they won out. This is the only time we ever had rock stars on there. Depeche Mode, I have no idea how Depeche Mode wiggled their way onto this thing. It was some MTV thing where they just said it's got to be Depeche Mode. They didn't. It was like we didn't have a leg to stand on. This only time. This was nice. This is a nice one.
It almost looks like swatches.
Yeah, it wasn't though.
Oh.
This was an MTV Awards special. Another one where they, we had to suck it up. The censorship issue. Wow, yeah, that was pretty good. That was a pretty famous campaign of that artist. That was a nice one. Yeah, very avant-garde.
And I think this might be the last issue.
Yeah, no, it wasn't the last, but it was getting there. That one was one of my favorites. There's a couple I left out. There's a few more, but I don't know if you have them all.
I got everything you gave me and what I could find.
Right, I don't think I gave you every single one though. What else? You got any other covers there or?
No, that was
okay. So
all I could come up with.
Anyway, so we started to produce the magazine, and putting these spreads in there. We decided not to use any rock stars, like I said. So we had a different cover every month. MTV, the lack of knowledge of magazines. Just so you know, the war we were at with them. They wanted us to do a completely redesigned magazine every month. So we try to explain to them that art directors are paid millions to design a magazine. You know what I mean? To begin with. You can't do it every month. And they were so arrogant. They just said, well, we're MTV. What are you talking about? Of course you can. And we're just going, no, you don't understand. This is not even negotiable. So the cover thing was kind of like our saving grace, that will give you a new cover of an independent artist every month and keep the rock stars off of the covers. And they kind of like that. And like I was saying to you the other day, the dirty little secret about MTV, there's a lot of dirty little secrets. I'm going to tell you right now about these secrets. They made me come to their Monday morning board meetings as just an outside company. And I'd have to sit in on this thing to see what was going on, to get the vibe, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it was like the episode where the Bowery Boys took over as mayor of New York, and they were going to go watch later. Thanks, John. Okay, come on back. So the Bowery Boys took over the city in one of the episodes of the Bowery Boys, and MTV was run by a guy named Tom Freston, but everyone else around the table were like kids. So it looked like this episode of the Bowery Boys where they became mayor of New York and police commissioner for a day. There was a famous episode of the Dead End Kids that was based on that. And, you know, I'm sitting there and I'm going like, they would put up a new video of Madonna and they go, we got this in from Madonna. And they'd put it up on the screen and they'd all go, look at this pig. She sucks. And they would just, just absolutely ridicule her. And I'm going, wow, this is kind of dark. And, you know, Tom Freston would say, what did you guys do over the weekend? And some kid would say, I went to see a movie. And they'd say, which one? And he'd say, I saw the new such and such movie. And they say, what'd you think? And he would say it was great. And then Freston would say, oh, that movie sucked. And everybody would go, yeah, it sucked. You suck. Shut up. I was sitting there going, holy cow. So MTV, the dirty secret of MTV was it had an upper echelon of elite corporate vice presidents who made $250,000 a year and also made more money on sales, percentage of sales. They got a percentage of it. And then 95% of the people below them were interns who were not paid. So you had no, it became a scandal after a while. They gave me some interns. I didn't know what to do with them. So, I mean, I sent them back. I said, I don't want your interns. They had so many interns, they didn't know what to do. And they didn't pay them anything. And I think New York State employment got involved years later and said, you can't do this anymore. But at that time, they simply had a corporate level of executives and interns running around doing stuff for them. That was the entire corporation.
So they had slave labor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But it was not slave labor because if one of the slaves died, there were plenty more who wanted to be slaves coming out of college.
Well, slaves. Okay.
Volunteer slaves.
You get we would call them suckers. No.
Well, they were kids. Anyway, so we designed this magazine. And one day we get a call from Time Warner. They want to send over some people to see how we did it. And we went, Time Warner, holy shit. So they sent over some people. We gave a tutorial of how we did it on the computer. And that tutorial and that staff became Entertainment Weekly, the magazine.
Oh.
So we taught them how to do a magazine on computer that day. So during the premiere party, which we had, it wasn't really a party. Oh, we did have a party. That was a crazy party. That was like at like Studio 54 or something. I forgot about that. There was a premiere launch and we had Delbert McClinton played. Dude, I forgot about this. Delbert McClinton, the incredible guitar player from Texas. And yeah, that was great. But there was, in the office, there was a tour coming up of executives to see how the whole operation was running. They gave us actual offices on the executive 7th floor of Bertelsmann. So we were on with the bigwigs, and they had a guy who wheeled around a silver cart at lunch with tea and tidbits and lunch. And he had on white gloves and he had a black patch over his eye and he looked like an ex-SS officer. And they were all German at Bertelsmann. The whole group was German. So they spoke in German and we would make jokes about it. And we were, on the floor. We got about 10 offices and a big art room. And this guy would go around with tea and stuff. And in the art room, right before they went in there, Gilbert Gottfried, who obviously passed away today, and we'll get into Gilbert a little later on. Gilbert came over from Lampoon and became the mascot of the magazine. So I brought Gilbert with me from Lampoon.
Coincidentally, the first table of contents, I don't know if anybody noticed, but isn't that him right down there in the bottom?
That's Gilbert. Yeah, that is a shot of Gilbert at Shea Stadium. Or I took, I don't know, I guess you could put up that, if you have that spread, I put it up on Twitter today. We took Gilbert out to Shea. I don't know if you see, I don't know if you see that. I put it up on Twitter. No, that's the one we went to Coney Island. There's one called The Big Pitch.
I didn't see that. Okay. I'll look for it while you tell me and I'll find it on Twitter.
Yeah. So anyway, Gilbert was in the art room with Ronnie, and they were playing around with the computer, designing something. And all the bigwigs came in from Germany to see the operation. And what Gilbert and Ronnie had designed was a giant rotating swastika on fire that was revolving around the screen when the Germans came in. And they weren't happy to see that. So Gilbert ran out. He was doing an impersonation of Hitler at the time. And
well, of course he was.
Right. So he ran out of the room or whatever, but we somehow got by that. But the magazine started coming out. Oh, yeah, that's the big pitch. Yeah, this is the one. We took him out to Shea Stadium, and he came in for relief of Debbie Gibson, who got injured or something in the storyline. But it was like a traditional National Lampoon style photo funny without the sex and tits, but we were trying to do the best we could. And I think in the dugout, if you zoom in the first frame, you'll see the upper left-hand corner. Yeah, you'll see a guy with a bent hat reading the newspaper. The guy on, I think there's Gilbert, and there's
third over is you, isn't it?
Yeah, that's me. And it says, I think I've been traded.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But yeah, anyway, so we took Gilbert out there and had a great day at Shea Stadium.
Oh, there you are here. What do I care? I've been traded.
Yeah, that was me. Right. Right. Yeah, that's kind of funny. That's Chris Howland on my right, the art director, John Bendel, the editor from Lampoon, the True Facts guy. On the extreme left was my business partner, Mark Dorset, who still lives in Austin, Texas. But anyway, so we went out and shot this thing with Gilbert. And that was kind of fun. So Gilbert was always around the magazine, and we had like a regular staff of veteran journalists, rock and roll journalists, working there as Billy Altman brought in. And we had a thing by Tom Hackman called Schizos. I don't know if you got a copy of that. He would combine, Hackman had a thing called double takes he was famous for, where he combined two celebrities into one. And he came up and he did like celebrity schizos for us. If you open up that, you'll see a cartoon of a guy with a bat eating it, maybe. Maybe on another.
Well, we need to coordinate a little bit, I think, because I don't know.
Scroll down a little bit. Let's see. Go ahead. Let's see what you got.
That's it.
Okay, well, that worked well. Nice knowing you. So put up those rock cards. That was in the first issue. That was in. See those rock cards there? Yeah, put that up. These were detachable rock and roll cards that were in the first issue. They're actually perforated on heavy cardboard on the back with the bios and some weird things about the artists. It's kind of a homage to my MTV, my Mass Murder cards that I did at Lampoon. This is a little bit more family friendly, though. That was kind of interesting. And let me see that spread again that you have with the photos. That page of different things. The master page that you had. They showed the
table of contents.
No. Scroll down a little further. Do you see the green things on the bottom?
Yeah.
Yeah. Put the first one up. Yeah. Put that up. We did a triptych. This was with Cleveland Stores. We did a Woodstock 2, the plastic generation with Barbie dolls. And the art direction was just fabulous on this. There was real mud there, real blankets, and the Barbie dolls, like a 3-page spread that I did working with this guy, Cleveland Stores, a brilliant photographer. And the art direction was just fabulous on this, showing that these yuppies were going to Woodstock 2 around 1989. That's why we did this
So that had to be the Woodstock special. There.
That was in the Woodstock special. Yeah. You'll see.
There's some mud on the bottom right.
There's some mud there, and you could get buses out of Monticello and things like that nature. So MTV hated our guts because they did not want us to do stuff knocking rock and roll, but they had hired guys who had done Lemmings. You know what I mean? The anti-Woodstock festival. You know what I mean? Like there was nobody on this staff who did not want. There it is. Where'd you get that from?
Up top.
I thought so. So I did.
Yeah, but you got to describe it.
Right. Okay. So
I'll remember Freddy Krueger Mellencamp of all things.
Right. He's combined Freddy Krueger and John Mellencamp. Well, MTV had a heart attack over this one. He never came back, Hackman. We never got him back in again. I think he did 1 or 2 of these celebrity skits. That was the end of Hackman. I mean, not the end of Hackman, but the end of Hackman with us.
So they had no humor, in other words. They were like,
this is a
cool magazine, not funny.
They had plenty of humor. accept any humor where rock and roll people were the focus of the humor.
Oh.
That was taboo. You could do whatever they didn't care what you did. I mean, I did this thing called 20 questions. If you could show one of those 20 questions things that I did at the end of every issue, I brought in a comic, and I would ask 20 like insane questions to them, and they would answer them if they'd stop laughing. I did one with Jackie the Joke Man. Laura Keitlinger. I'd ask them insane questions, and
I got Sam Kinison, but I don't see any 20 questions.
Well, let me see. Put that. You found this celebrity schizo somehow in your garage. So let's see. Put those photos back up. Let's see what you got.
All right. Let's see.
Well, this is a regular feature. If you want me to go here because of your ineptitude, I'll go. Wait. Hold on. You might find it. Hold on. Scroll down a little bit.
These are all covers.
Those covers, right.
Yeah, and then back to Sam.
Okay, well, you're missing quite a few here. Okay, so okay. Go back to that photo of me and Sam so I can explain this thing. Okay, so this is at Madison Square Garden in New York, backstage with Sam Kinison, who's headlining there. And I'm doing this article for the magazine. That's why I'm telling you this. So anyway, there's a guy who comes in to say hello to Sam, and it's Sylvester Stallone. And he's working in a movie in Rahway, New Jersey, a prison picture, right, at the time. And he doesn't even know Sam Kinison, but he says, Sam, do you mind if I go outside into the garden and make a little tour? Walk around for the fans. So Sam says, knock yourself out. What do I care? So Stallone goes out into the audience, and he starts walking around the audience, and they start acknowledging him, at Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. So Sam goes out in back of him and starts making faces behind his back. And the whole audience is cracking up. And every time Stallone turns around, Sam would straighten up and just act normal, right? and Stallone didn't know what happened. It was kind of funny. And he was just mocking Stallone. But during the course of the show, Kinison used to have a bit where he brought out this guy in a wheelchair, this, what's the proper word now, dwarf?
Sure.
Is
that a little person is the official? Okay,
so the little person would come out in a wheelchair, and Sam, you see him up in the right-hand corner there, that guy in the upper right. Oh, there's a picture of Stallone. He's actually in there, yeah. Oh, he also had his band. I forgot that he had his band with Leslie West that would open. Yeah, so the whole...
well, that was at the time that he was on MTV with
Headbangers
Tawny Katane.
Right.
Didn't he have a video of like her and the fire and all? I can't remember it all.
Right, but that was Leslie West from Mountain, and they would do a cover of Mississippi Queen right there, and then they had two of Sam's girls, and the guy up in the top in the wheelchair was brought out in some segment where, and I'm saying this as almost a homage to Gilbert, apparently who had some sort of muscular dystrophy, but this guy did have muscular dystrophy, and Sam would ask him, have you ever gotten any money from the telethon? And the guy would say no. And he said, are you pissed? And he says, you bet your ass I'm pissed. And Sam says, how long has the telethon been going? And he says, 25 years. He goes, wouldn't you rather have the cash or the cure? And he says, yeah, I'd like the cash or the cure, but I'm getting neither, Sam. So Sam would go, well, I think they should either give you the cash or the cure. And he'd get the audience to start chanting, cash or the cure, cash or the cure, cash or the cure, with this guy with the microphone. He gave him the microphone to lead the chant of cash or the cure for the Muscular Dystrophy Foundation. I thought it was pretty funny. Yeah. Although some people might not find that funny. It was funny that night. So anyway, back in the dressing room with Sam, that turned out to be a piece that I did because Sam was raising money for this show for Lenny Bruce's mom, who was ill at the time. So that was a part of the narrative of the article, was about Lenny Bruce's mother, who Sam was giving the money to at the
cool.
for that. Yeah.
Crazy. So I know you sent me something else that goes right into the humor, and I think you mentioned a phone call or something that happened at one point.
I forget.
Well, some of your where are they now type of things.
Oh, that, right. Yeah, you can put that one up on the screen. Yeah, we did it. Well, don't even put it out. I'll tell it first, and you can put it up later. We did a piece. I forget who the artist was. I think Jeff Wong, one of these guys. We did a piece of what would these rock stars look like today. Again, we were told not to go after rock stars, right?
Sure.
But of course, that's why we did it. And we said, what if they lived? And that was like, what would Jimi Hendrix look like today? What would Janis Joplin look like today? What would Jim Morrison look like today?
And you needed a fourth one, though, didn't you?
And the fourth one was the joke, which was David Crosby. And of course, they didn't get it. They didn't understand. They didn't even catch it, right? So this was already sent in like 2 or 3 weeks in advance, and it was going to press that night. And in the middle of the night, I get a call from Bob Friedman at home. It must have been midnight. And it was going to the printer at the time. We had submitted it a month before, and nobody saw the joke. And he's screaming into the phone, yelling at the top of his lungs, Eric, David Crosby is alive. Stop the presses. David Crosby is alive. And I'm just crying with laughter, in my pajamas, in bed. And I'm saying, it's too late, Bob. It's already, I don't know if it's too late. I just kept saying it's too late. It's already gone to print. And he just kept screaming, David Crosby is alive. One of the great lines of MTV executives of all time.
I love it.
And of course it came out, and nothing really happened, but they flipped out and they again tried to crack down like the Taliban on us.
Oh, somebody corrected me. I forgot. It was a Wild Thing, but not Tawny
Right.
Katane. It was
Right.
Jessica Hahn.
Jessica Hahn, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
That's right, Michael. I forgot about that.
That's
So
a very important historical figure.
it's a great moment in history. So yeah, the what if they lived debacle occurred, and we continued to publish the magazine, and MTV kept fighting with one another. Yeah, we got this award, a nomination at least for something here, the 1990 Magazine Publishing Excellence Award. There was also a battle of the title of the magazine. They didn't want it to be MTV Magazine. Hey, Betty Boop back. Whoa,
it's her birthday.
Happy birthday, Booper. This magazine's for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, we got this nomination, and the reality of it was that we had wanted to call it MTV Magazine, and there was some legal reason they didn't want to give up that name, and they wanted it to be MTV to Go. One of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Everybody called it MTV Magazine, and they added this to go thing on there. And if you show one of the covers again, because you'll see at the bottom how we had to have this postal sticker put upside down by the U.S. Post Office to mail it out. If you see the bottom right-hand corner of the covers, Eric.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking at every cover. There we go. Well,
there it is.
Left.
Yeah, we finally had to do that. Yeah, see that? And that drove the artists crazy, and the U.S.
It looks terrible.
Oh no, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare, and it was some way to get bulk. I don't know what it was, like a mailing discount
because then they didn't have to apply that sticker.
Yeah, it was considered a catalog by the United States Post Office.
Oh, you know what? That sucks so bad. I guarantee you that was a freaking accountant decision. They were probably like, if we don't put stickers on there, we're going to say
it wasn't a sticker. It was a see-through. That was in the print. That's not a sticker.
No, I know that. But what I'm saying is that modern day is you have a sticker, and then you know what? If you carefully peel it off, you have a perfect cover that looks nice. Right. This looks like crap. Sorry, but
we fought this tooth and nail. But yeah, I mean, it was still. I mean, the covers, I mean, were just spectacular, and the art itself. You had what you have, one table of contents there, or was there another one?
I have one for sure.
Let me see what else.
I think it's just the one, just the one with Lou Reed and all that.
Let me see what you got over there, just in terms of photos. One quick second.
All right, so table of contents.
Let me see that license revoke thing on the left, all the way on the left. Yeah, okay, so this was
oh wow.
Georgina's
back. Thank you.
Welcome back. So hope you feel better, Mark. Yeah, no, I'm better. I'm a little sad today, obviously, because of Gilbert, but
yeah, for sure. But thank you so much.
There was a time when they were in between James Bonds, and they were thinking about, there was scuttlebutt of getting an American Bond. You know what I mean? A James Bond. Every once in a while, they would think about an American Bond, like a Timothy Dalton lookalike or something. So the premise of this piece was one of Gilbert Gottfried was the American Bond, and we
look at him with the model.
we did this. By the way, his sister shot this, who was a New York Times reporter, a photographer, Arlene Gottfried, who very famous.
Oh wow!
Yeah. She shot this. We went out to Coney Island, and we had Gilbert in a tuxedo, and the cops were unbelievably great. I mean, these cops were hysterically funny. They completely got it. They were writing him a ticket. They were writing him a ticket for having a license to kill that had expired. And that was the premise of the piece. We actually put him on a jet ski. I thought Gilbert was going to have a heart attack. On the bottom right at the end of the piece, I mean, these were real models that, we said were the Bond girls. We put them on those bumper cars. You'll see a number 3.
Yep.
And those bumper cars, Gilbert and I grew up on those bumper cars as kids. We're both from Coney Island.
That model looks like she was topless, for God's sake.
Yeah. And there's obviously Wonder Wheel in the back there. And we kind of made the plot. He gets a call from M from London at MI6. He takes it. It's a collect call on the phone there.
Wow.
But those bumper cars were run, not that day, but when I was a kid later on, by a friend of mine named Gary Grossberg, who later went to Rikers Island for some other reason. I'm not really sure what. But yeah, so the whole thing was designed as a Bond parody. When I was so consumed with my own music that I didn't pay attention to pop culture. By the way, my husband is oboe. Okay.
Oh, there.
Right.
Okay, that's what she has. Thank you.
No wind that nobody blows good. Oboe. All right, the oboe. We were wondering what it was. Oh, we were. Right. We were talking about clarinets. The oboe.
Okay, thank you.
So anyway, so Gilbert would hang around the magazine, and I'll tell you, there was a place next door called the China Bowl, and he would make me take him to free Chinese lunch whenever he came up to the magazine. So I had to go. There was nobody in there. It was like one of those old family Chinese Cantonese joints that was on 45th. Off of Broadway, and he was the cheapest guy I ever knew, Gilbert Gottfried. We would be in a cab with Gilbert Gottfried, and I was, many times. And I pulled out a 50 one time. I said, Gilbert, can you get this? I got a 50. And he says, before I could even say something, he pulled out 100. He went, sorry. And I mean, that's the kind of guy Gilbert Gottfried was. He was cheap. Let me just put it that way. He lived with his mom in the projects on 28th Street, I think, until the time he got married. And
wow.
Yeah, oh, no. And he used to go to Billy's Topless on 28th Street, and Gilbert people know this. And, when he performed at Caroline's in the 80s, every major comic in New York was lining the back wall to watch the show because he was the funniest man in New York. And nobody debated that. Nobody could touch him. He was kind of crazy. It was hard to really get to know him. I mean, I was pretty close to him because we hung out a lot. I mean, we had done that National Lampoon Dirty Joke book a couple of years before where Gilbert and I went around the city. Yeah, this is Gilbert and I did this with a guy named Tony Kish. Gilbert and I went around the city for a year collecting every dirty joke we could find from cops and con men and cabbies, whoever we could get a dirty joke from. It became like almost an athletic celebrity event who could get more dirty jokes and bring them back to the house or the office. This was like in 1985, I think, 86. And it took about, there it is. Me and Tony Kish, Gilbert Gottfried. And then we published this for Lampoon, and it sold out really quickly. There's illustrations in there that go with it. There's ethnic dirty jokes. There's all kinds of dirty jokes.
It's still out there on eBay and stuff.
It is?
I was looking around. It's still out there.
That's interesting. So, when I brought Gilbert would come up to Lampoon and we'd do different things. But when I brought him over to MTV, there were no, like when we were at Lampoon, there were adults above us. There were older people. But when I was running MTV, there were no more adults. It was just me. So Gilbert just would go hog wild. He'd do whatever he wanted. He'd run into the Germans' offices doing Nazi salutes. I mean, he just was like a kid in the candy store, you know, and whatever he wanted to do, we kind of let him do. And that, you know, turned out to be those photo shoots. But I mean, when Gilbert was at Caroline's, you know, at his peak, I mean, if anybody could ever find this, it's one of the most amazing routines ever, where he does Ralph Cramden and Ed Norton doing Casablanca as Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. And okay, you go, well, that's pretty crazy, right? They're at the airport scene. You're getting on that plane, Norton. You're getting on that plane, Norton. And then he would switch in midstream to James Mason and Richard Burton as Cramden and Norton with British accents. And then go back to Norton and dude, it's the people were just weeping openly at Caroline's. It was just and I, you know, seen Gilbert a lot, and it was just the most amazing performer I ever knew in my life. And even recently when he was on Rogan, who compared to Gilbert, and no knock on Rogan, you know, Rogan's like a B-level hack comic as a stand-up, and he's trying to host. What's that?
Yeah, he's a good host. He's not really a great comic.
But I mean, as a stand-up, he kept asking Gilbert, does he write his material? And he doesn't write anything. And Rogan kept asking him, so when do you write? And Gilbert goes, I never write anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And it was just, he was a savant. The guy was a pure savant. And he was on 24/7, not the honking voice. I mean, that was a put on. But there was no other level. There was no level below that where he was, you know, into God and spirituality or anything. I mean, he was what he was. And, you know, he started when he was 15 years old as a stand-up. I mean, Gilbert's genius was he worshipped old Hollywood. He worshipped Bela Lugosi. He worshipped the old movies. He never felt he was part of show business. He was always an outsider looking in.
Remember when I first saw him he was hosting a late night show.
Yeah.
It was like Saturday night movies on one of the cable channels. So
yes.
That seemed to be right up his lane.
He was fascinated by Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Bela Lugosi, he was an expert on that, total savant. And also regular movies. I mean, there were huge gaps of stuff he knew nothing about. But in that area, he killed. He killed in that area. And any show business trivia, and I don't even know how to say this, but I'm just going to try to clean it up. But he would call me from the road. He would call me from the road, and he would name two very unnice looking celebrity women and say that you have to have sex with one of them and you have to choose. And this was his thing. And I would just start crying. I'm going, Gilbert, I can't. And no, you got to choose one. You're not getting out of it. And he would just have me crying at 3:00 in the morning. He's calling from Detroit and you're in bed and he's just riding you unmercifully. And the two that he would come up with would just be, you know, unbelievable. You know, it'd be like Roseanne Barr covered with mud, and
Lori Latchford or something.
Yeah, just the crazy, and he would add on other levels to it as it went on. And other people must have gotten this call besides me, but in that time period, we were very close. You know, in the 80s and into the 90s, we were very close friends. And you know, later on, he went on to other things. But with the magazines, and we both were with William Morris. We would go up to William Morris and to the office in New York, and he would race to grab the phone to make free phone calls to LA, and he would dive for it before I would get to it so we could run up a bill on William Morris. And then he would steal everything that wasn't nailed down, the candy, the soda. He would be stuffing it in his pockets. And we were both clients. We were both with William Morris. I just remember that. Sorry. Holy cow. I mean, yeah, he was a piece of work, Gilbert. He really was. I mean,
didn't you tell me a story about him finally having to get a bill or getting burned one time he was being super cheap?
Okay, well, of course, there's the legendary Stern shows where he would come on and do, for a year, he did Andrew Dice Clay. He did an incredibly impeccable, ventriloquist stuff, not ventriloquist, impersonations.
He
never did them, but when he did them, it was insane. So he developed the dice man, and he would do it on Stern, and it got to the dice. It was getting under his skin. So the dice came on, and Stern said to Gilbert, "Don't do it in front of the dice man." So of course he's doing it, and Dice is getting angry and angrier. And then Kinison would show up literally from the street. He would be up all night, and he would come from a club. So the greatest, which I have on audio tape, and we should definitely do a show. I have all of these.
You gotta find that. Yeah,
I have them on digital audio of Stern, Kinison, Dice, and Gilbert. And this is the greatest radio. I have them. I don't have to find it. I have it. You know, we could do a show just of that.
You got to do that. Maybe on locals. Got to get something.
Yes. Yeah, it'll go somewhere. But I mean, Gilbert got infatuated with a Russian emigre girl that he was infatuated with. So Stern said, "You got to get us some jewelry." And he's going, "Nah, I don't think so." And everybody, Robin, everyone, even me, you know, said to him, "Okay, you got to get us some jewelry." So he was reluctant because he was so cheap, but he was completely infatuated with. She was stunning, and he said, "All right, I'm going to get something." And he gets her a ring and a necklace, and he must have dropped 10 grand or something. I mean, yeah, no, he really.
You had to be shocked.
Yeah, no, everybody was shocked. He dropped around 10 grand to buy this girl a ring and a necklace, and he gave it to her. And the next day, she fled back to Moscow. And like, oh my God! I mean, he was not happy. And Stern just he wouldn't let this go. Stern, he wouldn't let it go. Now. You know, and I knew Jackie really well because Jackie, was Jackie Marling, the joke band. But Jackie would be underneath Stern's desk writing the entire show on a yellow legal pad. I don't think anybody knows this except Jackie, because Jackie and I would go to the Friars Club after the Stern show, and he would get drunk, and it'd be like 11 o'clock in the morning. He would be drinking tons of Bloody Marys, whatever he was drinking, and just complaining that he hated Stern's guts, and he was ripping them off. And he would show me his notebook, his black and white composition notebook, and there it was. The entire show that Stern had said was written in Jackie's handwriting, and he would be underneath the table showing it to Stern during the radio show. This is AM radio in New York before he went to Sirius. But Gilbert on Stern was so great. I mean, that was the height of radio at that time when Gilbert was on with Kinison and Dice. I mean, it was an all-star team. It really was amazing. I mean, there was I saw him at the Bottom Line one time, Gilbert. He just melted the place. I've never seen a comic destroy like Gilbert in a room. And he knew he was killing people, and yet he continued to kill them. And it was unmerciful. He was unmerciful. He was the Genghis Khan of comics. He was the Genghis Khan of comics. He would just kill people. I mean, he went down one time. He had a gig in Alabama, and he looked out, and they were all stare jobs. They didn't know what he was doing. It was all rednecks, cowboy hats. He did the whole show with a Yiddish accent, and then just got in a van and left. The entire show he did in a Yiddish Jewish accent, and they're all just staring at him in disbelief.
Wow, good Lord! It's been a sad past year because I think about him and Norm Macdonald had Gilbert laid out. So they respected each other quite a lot.
Well, look at the three now. I mean, it was McDonald, Saget, now Gilbert. I mean,
yeah, bad year.
Bad year for comics. Wow. I mean, it was just, like I said, Gilbert and Kinison. Yeah, Kinison. Yeah. I mean, it's been a while, obviously, for Kinison. I mean, who had substance
way back in the day. Yeah,
had substance abuse issues. Obviously, Sam, but Gilbert. Let me tell you something.
Straight, wasn't he?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. He didn't drink or anything. I mean. Didn't drink or didn't smoke. At least I never saw him do it. And I'll tell you something. At the age of 30, when I met Gilbert in 1985, he looked like he was 65. He looked like an old man when he was 30. Okay,
so he's one of those people who's forever in that exact.
I saw him a number of years ago at the Peter Boyle. There was a benefit for Peter Boyle out here, and he introduced me. He had a wife, and I was like, "On who?" And she was normal. I don't know her, but he introduced her, and I said, how could this guy have a wife? I was just absolutely shocked. And then the benefit for Peter Boyle, it was like Jay Leno, a bunch of straight comics went up and did a bit, and Gilbert went up, and he just didn't like, I don't know what it was. He didn't like the vibe in the room. And he gave one of the most blue, foul-mouthed performances I've ever heard. And the women who were there, it was Peter Boyle's wife and other women who were putting on this charity event in the name of Peter Boyle, said they were just outraged. You know, and they said, well, he won't ever be back. And I said, I don't think he's planning on coming back. That's why he did this. I mean, Gilbert, remember after 9/11, Gilbert did that joke about booking.
It was the tsunami. Well, he did. Okay, go until the 9/11.
Right after 9/11, he did a joke where he called up TWA and he said he wanted to book a flight to the coast. And she said, what kind of flight? And he says, nonstop, the ones that don't crash into buildings. And it was way too soon. And he took a lot of heat for that. He took a lot of heat.
Well, he took even more heat and lost his Affleck gig from tweeting out about the tsunami that happened in Japan, and he got fired from Affleck. And
well, the scandal with Affleck is that they hired a Gilbert Gottfried impersonator
after they fired him.
After they fired him, and he went to court suing them, and he lost. He lost the case, and the guy was an impersonator of Gilbert doing the same voice. And for some reason, what's that?
Which is insane. I mean, yeah.
Oh, everybody thought it was a slam dunk. Yeah, it was totally insane. I don't know how he lost that case, but yeah, I mean,
a prudent judge. I'm sure it's because they thought his joke was out of taste and he deserved it.
Maybe. But I mean, this was a couple years after when they got the Affleck voiceover guy to do him. You know, the duck. So it wasn't really connected to that tweet. It was a couple of years later, actually. But he lost that case. But I mean, he ends up being Aladdin, you know, the Parrot and Aladdin and you know, Parenthood and all these other movies that he worked in. You know what I mean? Sure. So, I mean, it wasn't a question of not working. I mean, he did so many voiceovers, Eric.
He was touring this year, I think, when he went on Rogan.
Right. In fact, I'll tell you something else. A month ago, I reached out to him to come on the show, and he said he was touring. So after he was on Rogan, I emailed him, you know. And I guess he was going back on tour after COVID. Right. That's what it was. After they opened the clubs. Right. Because he was talking about to Rogan about that.
Yep. Yeah. So sad, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird, but I mean, you know, the other guys, I think, abused themselves. He never did. I think he had muscular dystrophy or something.
Now he had some disease. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
It was a long-term. It's a lot like Norm Macdonald, though.
Yeah.
He didn't say jack about it, and we're finding out. It's almost like a punchline. Surprise.
Yeah.
You know,
no, it's sad. It
that's
really
classy.
Right. But he never seemed healthy in his healthy days, just to be honest.
Really?
He was never, you know, this was not a healthy guy to begin with. Not that he wasn't a hypochondriac. He never was ill. He wasn't like one of these neurotic guys. I mean, he was neurotic, but not that hypochondriacal type neurosis. I mean,
just frail, genuinely frail.
He was just, right. He was a frail guy. Right. He was definitely a frail guy. He wasn't a guy you would take to, like when we took him to Coney Island. I mean, that was like climbing the Andes, you know, for him. That was, and he's from Coney Island, and so am I. But I mean, we were the same exact age. You know, I mean, we had the same reference points of everything. Because we were exactly the same age. We came from the same geographic area, and we grew up in the same, you know, like a mile apart from each other, Eric. You know what I mean? So, I mean, when you're that close time-wise and space-wise, there's a lot of overlap. You know what I mean? But,
sure.
You know, most of it for him was that he was enamored as a kid with show business. And he talked about on Rogan going to Times Square. It was also
everybody should, you know,
out
of respect, you should check out that interview.
Oh,
I'm really glad he did do it. It's like almost a good cap on his life in a way.
That is a great interview that it was so long. And I thought it was going to go into the toilet, but apparently it picks up about an hour in. I was just shocked that anybody could talk to Gilbert for that long. You know what I mean?
Joe's an amazing host. He really is. And he didn't Gilbert would say things like that, but he actually got Gilbert interested. Like when Gilbert's saying, I don't know, I didn't write. And then Joe was like, well, I do such and such. And then Gilbert kind of got interested. He's like, so what do you do? Why do you do that?
Right. Right. Yeah, no, I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, Gilbert, I mean, he will talk to you about show business for hours. I mean, he does not mind talking, but any other subject, he was a savant in this one area of show business. I mean, and that was his superpower. was his worship of vaudeville, of the Stooges, of the Marx Brothers, of American Jewish comedy. That was his, desire, was to be part of that world, which he was. And I mean, he's a continuation of Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner and that Brooklyn Jewish Catskill.
Next gen almost.
What's that?
Like another next gen.
Absolutely. I mean, he, is Woody Allen was, before him, who came from our neighborhood and was older than us, obviously, and so was Mel Brooks. But we were the next generation of, and maybe the last generation. Although, I mean, there's guys like, I don't know, like Seinfeld and Judd Apatow. Well, Seinfeld's from the same generation as us, but Judd Apatow's a little younger, and Seth Rogen's a little younger. But from that Brooklyn school, I think we were the last ones to come out of that Brooklyn comedy school down there in South Brooklyn, in Coney Island. I don't know if anybody after us came out of there, because I mean, Dice lived around the corner from me in Sheepshead Bay. Andrew Silverstein. All this stuff was right. Even Stern, lived out in Roosevelt, Long Island, he was the same age as me, and came out of there. What were his politics? He didn't have any politics.
I don't know if he had.
No, he didn't. He didn't have any other interests other than show business. He was a focused guy. Politics, that would have been strange. He would rarely comment on stuff like that unless to turn it into a joke, of some sort. But he would do impersonations privately of people, and that was always worth the price of admission. But like I said, he finally must have moved out of his mother's place on 28th Street. Somehow he ended up in Florida, I guess. As he told Joe Rogan, I didn't even know he moved to Florida.
Don't all Jews from New York at one point or another?
What's that?
Sorry, don't
I mean, it makes perfect sense. But just to think of having Gilbert Gottfried in Boca Raton, which is where I think he ended up, in some gated community. I mean, I pity his neighbors, I mean, I remember taking, you can't like mix with the regular population. I took Richard Lewis to the Dodger game one night, and I went to pick him up. And of course, I'm in my full Dodger uniform. And Richard Lewis is completely dressed in black with a cape that he wore with high shoulder pads. And he looks at me, he goes, "I can't go to the game with you. Look what you look like." And I said, "Me?" I said, "Look what you look like." I said, "Get in the car." So we drive to the game, and we're sitting there, and he says, "I can't sit here." I go, "Why not?" He says, "I got to go on a tour." I said, "Come on, Richard." So he walks around the mezzanine because he's addicted to people acknowledging him, right? So I said, "You happy now?" I said, "Here's your Dodger dog." And he's doing shtick in the box, in the, we're sitting there, and these two old gentlemen who are sitting there, who are season ticket holders, turn around to him and say, "Look, we don't know who you are, but would you shut the F up? We're trying to watch the game." So they didn't know.
That was one of your best moments, right? You had to love that.
And I was like going, thank you, sir, for shutting him up. So he says, "I don't have to sit here. I'm going to go talk to Vin Scully, the announcer." I go, "Richard, nobody gets in the booth with Vin Scully. He's calling the game. He's a legend." He goes, No. I did the lineup with him on the NBC Game of the Week 6 months ago. He knows who I am. We did the game together. He'll let me in. I'll do an inning. I said, "I don't think so." So he goes up. He disappears for a full inning. He comes back. He's really embittered. He sits down and he just mumbles, "Anti-Semite." I said the guy wouldn't let him in the booth, so he called him an anti-Semite. Vin Scully.
Sounds like a guy who's like, she's a lesbian.
Yeah. But again, Richard Lewis is that last generation of Borscht Belt, Jewish comics, just like Gilbert. And I don't know if they ever remember meeting each other, the two of them, but they must have met somewhere along the line. Gilbert, Richard,
or they know each other's work, I'm sure.
Right, and Gilbert didn't really do sitcoms and stuff. He wasn't a very good actor, to be honest with you. He just stood there stiffly. If you see him in a lot of these movies, like Parenthood 1 and 2, and I think that was called Parenthood.
Well, he's a cameo guy. I mean, he would
right, but the voiceover was perfect for him to do, because you didn't have to see him, and he could do the voice of a parrot or an animal, and 10 times better than him being in a movie, at least in my opinion, because he unless he was in some really weird little cameo, it was hard for him to last.
Actually, it's so weird with him and Norm, because You're talking about The Voice, right?
Yeah,
There's the Norm Macdonald, Adam Carolla, Gilbert Gottfried Spectre, or Spectrum.
yeah,
They literally, people will always kind of compare their voices with each other. It's
right,
weird thinking about how two of them have gone so near.
right. Yeah, that's really odd that they went so quickly. I don't know if he got COVID or what, but he must have had some other outside illness, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very, very private. So,
But I mean,
wow.
any this is not a guy who made albums. I mean, he did have a couple of Showtime specials, which were really surreal. And I recommend these Showtime specials if anybody could find them. I have them somewhere in there. I'm going to take a look at them tonight. I haven't looked at them in years. Where the set for the Showtime special was a white trash trailer with a phony front lawn with lounge chairs and pink flamingos. I have no idea.
Florida.
It was supposedly Florida, right?
I bet you.
He had like a silver, like a little Winnebago, and he lived in there. And he came out and he did his routine in this green AstroTurf on the front lawn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, rest in peace, man.
Rest in peace, my friend. One of the great comics of all time.
So on that sad note.
Yeah. Well, that's on a sad note. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. He made a lot of people laugh for a very long time and helped a lot of people. So
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of his wake, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. So Friday, we have Ruth Payne, right?
Ruth Payne. I hope she doesn't sue us. Still alive, so we got to be careful. What we're doing here.
That's okay. I'm the interviewer. You're the interviewee on this one.
Yeah, her son lives in my neighborhood. The guy, Michael Payne. What's the kid's name? I think
I forgot. We had him on.
Chris Payne. Chris Payne. He directed Who Stole the Electric Car? I guess it was funded by.
Oh, that's right.
It was way ahead of its time. Yeah, it was funded by the deep state at the time. And he did some other environmental or some other kind of documentaries. But we'll get into Ruth Payne and her husband, Mike Payne, who goes back to Thomas Paine, who signed the Declaration of Independence because the deep state and the intelligence operations
Also was a great writer, if I recall.
Thomas Paine?
Yeah.
Yeah. They like to operate, like I said, with deep American family roots. So Michael Payne, the director, son of Thomas Paine, and Ruth Payne, whose entire family worked at the CIA. It was actually in their phone book, in the CIA phone book. Her sister worked there. Her father worked at the CIA. Her father was in South America. And then you'll see in the storyline, she'll end up doing some other stuff besides the unusual things she did. And I'm going to say the word sexual. Just to titillate the audience, with Marina Oswald, and I hope you'll
more to come.
There's more to come. Yeah. There's interesting.
Spell it any way you want.
Yep.
Yes. Diane wants to know Alec Baldwin. No update at this point. I am waiting for another suit to drop. I can't go any further than that, but another suit's possible.
Well, no, the wife is pregnant, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, we talked about that though.
Oh, we did. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And I even did a thing with the lawyers on it on Layback News. If anybody wants to check that out, we talked about that and questioned the prosthesis.
Well, he tried to get the lawsuit dismissed on free speech grounds, right, from the Marine.
Yeah.
That he linked to defamed to the January 6th thing.
Yep.
But, all right. We got more stuff.
Nothing really going with him right now, but we've got Ruth Payne coming up. What everybody, to see this, you need to hit that elusive red subscribe button.
Is that true?
So, well, that's what I hear.
Mm-hmm.
And please make sure that you are still subscribed.
Yeah, apparently people get unsubscribed in the middle of the night by the unsubscribing bandit who goes around while you're sleeping. Somebody put that up yesterday.
In the comments, they said they were unsubscribed. Yeah. That's part of the way I do subscribers only, is both to fight the bots and also so people go to make a comment, find themselves unsubscribed. Here you go. That
would be the only way you'd find out, right? If you went to make a comment, Eric?
In the chat right now, because I put on subscribers only. If you try to chat and it doesn't work, it'll say subscribers only.
Oh,
so
that's a good way to know. I see.
Yeah, it's a good catch. So it's kind of a bargain at twice the price. Thank you,
Rolf. Thank you, Rolf.
Good to see you.
I met a girl today from Borgen in Norway. Is that a Borgen? She her father lives in Alaska, and she was from Norway in Borgen. So I thought, Rolf might know her. Her name was Karen, not Karen. It was like Kieran, Kerin, a variation of Karen. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, so you can read about some of this stuff. Where can we find this?
Well, unstructured.locals.com is always a good place. You put stuff there, and hopefully you can find those tapes, and they may wind up on Locals. The elusive Howard Stern, Gilbert Gottfried tapes that you talked about earlier.
Oh yeah, I'll find that. Yeah, I was in Vegas. I had dinner with a guy named Robert Barnes the other night, and we were like two maniacs for 3.5 hours just talking politics. I think they had to kick us out to finally close the place, but it was great to meet Robert in person and have dinner with him. And holy cow, was that fun! Just nonstop in person. Riffing on politics and other.
Well, I might have them on this show, or we're going to do something on their show. Eventually, the stars are going to align.
Right.
And everybody will come together.
What? Okay, that's something to look for. That's something to look for.
Definitely, it's going to happen.
You think anybody can stay with us and subscribe and make the channel grow? Or
you know what? I appreciate it if they do. Tell your friends. That helps a lot.
Now, wait a second. You're also saying that you've got merchandise based on the show. I took some to Vegas with me. I gave it out as best I could, and I didn't sell any. I gave out those little pins you gave me.
Yep. Cool.
But you say that you could buy a hat, for instance?
There's hats, there's T-shirts, there's running T-shirts, there's polos, and I ordered some polos for myself, so I can have a collar and represent. This
is not one of them, but wait, they have polos now with collars?
Yeah.
Is there like America's Untold Story with the alligator?
Up here, just
I could wear that. I could even wear that. Okay, that's good to know. Can they still PayPal me at my usual PayPal?
They still can PayPal or Venmo. They can PayPal me or Venmo me.
All right, you had to choose between two people to PayPal.
Well, obviously,
I would recommend me because he has a wife and a house.
Exactly. I have people who depend.
He's got a day job. Hunley, don't send him any more money. He's going to go off.
Right. He has to do all this. He's killing himself here. Whereas Mark is just in there, just fat, dumb in Hollywood, going, everybody's.
Well,
look at me hanging out with my stars.
Look, and you know what? Flip a coin. PayPal either one of us. But you could also Venmo us. We're also on Rumble, right, Eric?
It is on Rumble. It shows up later. Eventually, I'll simulstream. It's just tough to get at the last minute. And
I see what you're saying.
But the show it synchronizes over there.
There are comments over there too, like Rumble rants or something. Should we go over there and look at them, or? Well,
the rants occur if I'm simul streaming, but then that would mean I'm not displaying pictures. But then the chat, it's already keeping up with that chat, the pictures, and that. Then it'll be another chat.
I'm going to put up on Locals all the stuff that Eric couldn't find today from MTV Magazine.
Well, it'd be good. Somebody might have sent it to me too small in one email and then sent other emails without half the content.
My staff working around the clock is going to put this stuff up on Locals for the American people who deserve to see what Hunley couldn't see because it was too small. So we'll look at Locals and we'll put the bulk of the magazine, the oddities from the magazine up there. I realized that we had our own swag. The MTV merch used to sell like hotcakes, by the way. Jackets and hats and everything. I'll show you on the page. There's a merch page that we used to use at MTV. So we'll put that up on Locals. I think people get a kick out of it. And some of these spreads I'll put up on Locals also.
All right. Well, on that note, everybody hang out. We got one last joke coming to close the show. So see everybody Friday.
Okay.
A guy walks into a bar. Joan Rivers is the bartender. He sees a sign over the bar that reads, cheese sandwich $1.50. Hand job $10. He says to Joan Rivers, are you the one that gives the hand jobs? Joan says, yes, I am. He says, well, wash your hands, bitch. I want a cheese sandwich. Good night.